out for the 2024 season. This just came down. Hang on, this is glitching. Here we go. Wait, thank you. It's glitching. So, this just came down about 5 minutes before we were going on. McCarthy has a torn meniscus. This was known yesterday. Torn meniscus, and that he would expected to miss the first month, maybe, but then would be fine. Well, he had the surgery today, and everything's not fine. This is off the Minnesota Vikings Twitter account. Head coach Kevin O'Connell announced that JJ McCarthy underwent successful surgery, which it's always successful. They always deem it successful. To acquire that required a full repair of McCarthy's meniscus. He will miss the entire 2024 season. So that means Sam Darnold is the quarterback in Minnesota. Not the plan. Not the plan. This really is. It really sucks if you're JJ McCarthy. He actually played well in the preseason game that he was in. And it was like 11 of 17 for 188, which is really good. He seemingly is a tough guy because he did get hurt at some point in the preseason game, but decided he was going to continue to play. Just thought it was soreness, ended up tearing the actual meniscus. So, it's extremely disappointing, especially if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan. The quarterback you drafted is now, unless someone else becomes available. Wouldn't be surprised here if Minnesota does make a trade. I'm sure those phone lines are open as we speak. Let's just see what happens. Now, the news that we all wanted to hear, and I was waiting for, which is the reason why there wasn't a show on Monday or Tuesday, because I wanted to make sure I had everything, was the Brandon Aiyuk. Specifically, what on earth is the Brandon Aiyuk situation looking like, and what's happening? Well, I'll tell you. This came out about 18 hours ago. And I'm actually going to see if I can try and find the whole thing. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, yeah, I can't seem to find it. But anyway, there is a trade partner in place for the 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, let's start with how this happened, how we get here. Last week, we said Aiyuk had three trade partners that were interested: the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Browns. The Patriots jumped first. They said, okay, let's go talk terms. And the 49ers said their terms. The Patriots said, yes, we can agree to that. Don't know what those terms were. Okay? When they talked to Aiyuk, if I remember correctly, they were either only gonna give him 28 million or 32 million, one of those numbers. And Aiyuk said, "No, that's not happening." So the Patriots were bounced in the situation. Next were the Cleveland Browns. And again, agreed on the terms of the deal. The terms were, if I remember correctly, Brandon Aiyuk would go to the Browns in exchange for Amari Cooper, a second-round pick, and a fifth-round pick in next year's draft. Aiyuk went and for whatever reason did not want to go to Cleveland and said no. And that nixed the deal there. So now comes the Pittsburgh Steelers, which have, okay, Brandon Aiyuk's preferred destination. Can the 49ers and Steelers agree on a deal? Okay, they agree to the terms. Don't know what those terms are at the moment. We gotta talk to Aiyuk. Aiyuk and talk to the Steelers. They agreed on a contract. Okay. So Aiyuk agrees on a contract. The terms are set. Now, why is it taking so long? Well, this is a two-parter. Part one is the 49ers have to agree so they cross the final hurdle and then the trade would be done. The second part of that hurdle is they believe, and Aiyuk's people believe, that a trade, yes, that is on the horizon if that does happen, but they believe also that a deal, a contract extension, is close to being done. So those are the two questions, the last hurdle, I should say. When in doubt, though, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever witnessed in covering football and in watching football, really. I've never heard of a situation where we have a deal in place to trade a guy, but only if we can't reach a contract extension in which we're also working on at the same time. And we believe we're not too far away. I've never heard of that. That's quite a shocker, personally. Now, whatever happens with Brandon Aiyuk, we will break it down here or on our Rumble channel, which I will put in the description either of this video or of the following video on Monday. The next up for the news is this actually kind of shocked me this morning. Why does this thing keep popping up? Okay. So there we go. So I put this down as JOK because if I spell the whole name, we'd be here a long time and it'd be confusing. So Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is a stout linebacker for the Cleveland Browns, received a contract extension about 3 hours ago. It's a 3-year deal worth $39 million, $25 million guaranteed. The deal was negotiated by CAA. That gets the 24-year-old back to the table quickly. So basically, this, because we heard this was what was heard from the 49ers that it would have been the most accepted thing. Like, they wanted a premier player, either on offense or on defense. So that's where it goes north and south in these situations. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah gets a contract extension to stay in Cleveland. So we have quite an interesting thing that happened over the course of the weekend and really on Monday. Former Philadelphia Eagles pass rusher, now current Jets player Haason Reddick, requested a trade from the Jets. He has not shown up since the physical or introductory press conference of the Jets. According to the Jets, that the terms were agreed on the new contract that Reddick was asking for, did not get, or did not like him. Reddick did not like him and chose that it wasn't going to happen, and that there has been very little contact with Reddick and his camp. Reddick asked for a trade, to which Joe Douglas, maybe an hour later, 30 minutes later, not even that long, said, "We are not trading Haason Reddick. That is not happening. Haason Reddick is here, and he's expected to be a teammate of the Jets." Now, we have over here said how terrible the Cowboys have done in talking about the CeeDee Lamb contract, talking about a Dak Prescott contract extensions. We've talked about that tirelessly. And for as much as we've talked about how bad the Joneses have been with those contract negotiations, you can easily say the same thing for the Jets. Easily. Because it is true. The Jets have done this to themselves. This is the star that you got who isn't effective in the next draft class, but in the following draft class, that's the pick you traded. So it becomes a 2026 problem. But if he's not on the team, what do? If he hasn't shown up, what do? This could be the first time that we see a player, the same player, get traded twice in an offseason. And that would be a shocker to see Haason Reddick on the move again. Next up, let me see if I can find it. Okay, let's do this. There's two things we need to talk about. Let's talk Hollywood Brown. So, in the first preseason game of the Kansas City Chiefs, which I believe happened on Saturday, Hollywood Brown was out for a pass, caught the ball, and took a big hit. And he didn't get up. He was in so much pain. He finally got up and walked over to the sidelines. And he was kind of like wiggling his fingers a little bit, and that was it. It was one play in the game. The media talked to Andy Reid after the game, to which Andy Reid said it was a dislocation for Hollywood Brown. It's actually the same injury that Tyreek Hill suffered in 2019. So, from my understanding, it dislocated, but not from the normal spot of a dislocation. It dislocated basically the way if you were in a car accident, that's how it would dislocate. So the amount of force and power that hit to dislocate it in a different area is insane. Hollywood Brown is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So he at least misses the opener or potentially the first month of the year. That's a really disheartening thing. Because you brought Hollywood Brown in to help out Patrick Mahomes. And now he's not probably going to play in the opener against the Ravens. That's a big loss. And while I'm on the topic of an injury or a scare, I should say, Mark Andrews was in a car accident. This was announced today. He was in a car accident. Scary scene. If I can get actual news here, let's see if I can find it. The hope is everyone's okay. And, a dangerous sight, of course, but the hope is everyone's okay. And let's see. Let me make sure I have all this information before I start spewing things that I don't know what I'm talking about. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So I'm reading this off from the Baltimore Ravens. Mark Andrews was involved in a car accident while driving to the Performance Center early Wednesday morning. Andrews was evaluated by the medical staff of the Ravens and did not sustain any apparent injuries. He later joined the team for morning meetings. Mark was originally scheduled for a non-practice day on Wednesday and is expected to return to practice in the coming days. Statement from Mark Andrews: I appreciate everyone's thoughts and well wishes. This is a great reminder that the importance of wearing seatbelts and remaining alert while driving a car. That's all important right there. So happy that Mark Andrews is okay and that he can just take it easy for a couple days before he gets back to practice. Now, the final thing, let's talk Trey Lance. Specifically, what he did in the preseason, game 1, which the Rams beat the Cowboys 13-12. It was a typical preseason game. That's okay. It's all right. In that preseason game, Trey Lance was not the best. Missed on a couple throws. No interceptions, no touchdowns. Was, I believe, 25 of 41 for 188. Not ideal. Missed a lot of those high, but they at least went out of bounds, so you're like, "Okay." Missed a couple touchdowns, including a wide open one. So, you know if you're Trey Lance, it's gonna go up and down. There's things that he is just doesn't see because he hasn't played a whole lot. I wanna see what Trey Lance looks like in the next preseason game, which happens on Saturday for the Cowboys. But I thought he did okay. I think just the more experience he gets, the better he'll be. Let's just see what happens. But for now, Trey Lance, he was alright. You just hope he was better than alright. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hubert. Out.